let's move on to talking about Cris Cyborg and Kat Zingano. They're going back and forth here a little bit with the steroid accusation. So MMA Fighting tweeted out, I don't have the date for this, but MMA Fighting tweeted out, let me enlarge this for a little bit for you to read. Kat Zingano wants independent drug testing to fight Cris Cyborg to make sure it's a fair fight. Cris Cyborg did not take well to this. And she tweeted this out, and she said this before in an interview about Zingano. But now she tweeted it out in reaction to this. It says, Kat Zingano 9-0 with wins over Misha and Nunes. Enters USADA in 2015 and goes 1-4 competing. Now she's 2-0 after leaving USADA and fighting on YouTube Friday night and thinks I care what she wants. A lot of people are saying that this is like a 10-8 Cyborg, 10-7 Cyborg. I will disagree. I will disagree here. Because first of all, Cris Cyborg has no room to be accusing anybody of doping. Zero room for Cris Cyborg to be accusing anybody of doping. Let me say this again. Cris Cyborg has zero room to be accusing anybody of doping. When has Kat Zingano tested dirty in her entire career? None. When has Cris Cyborg tested positive for banned substances? Twice. Once in Strike Force. And people will say, well, that was a long time ago. Cyborg fans are a very emotional bunch too, because well, they're fan boys. The second time, and people were going to make an argument about this, and I'll get to it. She tested positive under USADA for a diuretic. Well, Chuck, well, she got a TUE for it. Yeah, she got a retroactive TUE. Okay, she had to run. Okay, Cris Cyborg lives in California. She's lived in California for years. She tested positive for a diuretic that she failed to disclose on her testing paperwork. Okay, so that right there is a violation. Testing positive for a banned substance is a violation. Failing to disclose said substance that you knew you were taking is another violation. So she literally lied on her paperwork, then test positive. So what does Cris Cyborg do? She runs all the way back to Brazil to get a doctor to write her a doctor's note, saying that well, she was using this diuretic to recover from her last fight. Why do you need a diuretic to recover from a fight? Why do you need a diuretic to recover from a fight? Also, keep in mind, what are diuretics used for besides weight loss? They're used as a masking agent. Okay? Diuretics are used as a masking agent. Granted, yes, you can use a diuretic to help you lose weight. In a sport where you have to make weight, it's kind of expected. Illegal, what kind of expected, and it's not a big surprise. However, what are diuretics also used for again? I repeat that. Diuretics are also used as a masking agent to hide other substances that you might be using. Okay, so people use them all the time. They go to GNC right before they have a job interview. They get the diuretic, the masking agent. Boom, go get the drug test. Pee clean, even though they might have. Depends. As long as they're not testing for the masking agents, which most of the time you go to get a job interview, they're not going to test for the masking agent. Then, a couple fights later, Cyborg goes all the way to Thailand to train. Okay, not unusual to train. But she doesn't go, does she go to like Tiger Muay Thai? Does she go to Phuket? Does she go to Bangkok? No, she goes way deep into the north of Thailand, into the jungle to train at a remote gym. Testing agent pulls up, shows up at her hotel or at her camp. What happens? The testing agent gets arrested. They literally have the testing agent arrested. Gee, that's not suspicious at all. So again, Cyborg has no room. Oh, then anyway, Cyborg leaves UFC, goes back to Bellator. How much testing does Bellator do? Bellator does no testing. They leave it up to the local commission, whether that is on native land and it's the tribal commissions, or whether it's in the state athletic commissions. Well, guess what? Most state athletic commissions and tribal commissions, they do the bare minimum testing. They do a single test within 24 hours before the fight and a single test within 24 hours after a fight. Most people know how to beat those. Those are easy because you're already cycled off by then. Granted, the one time Cyborg definitely tested positive for stanozolol, which is testosterone, it is a hormone. She failed a pre-fight test. She's gotten better since then. So Cyborg, rather than just saying, "Oh, sure, I've got nothing to hide," what does she say? She slams ZingaNo and says, "How good have you been doing ever since USADA? And now that you're not in USADA, you picked up wins." Well, two things happened. In 2014, I think it was 2014, let me pull ZingaNo's record real quick. 2014, in September, ZingaNo faces Amanda Nunes. Now, she beats Nunes via third round TKO. But before that, she gets the absolute crap beat out of her for two straight rounds. Gets the absolute crap beat out of her. And she has gone on record saying that fight messed her up for months afterwards. Like, she couldn't leave her house. She had a hard time dealing with bright light. She had to keep her curtains closed and the lights dim. All kinds of things. She's gone on record talking about that on Joe Rogan's podcast. So yeah, she gets the crap beat out of her, like life-altering beating at the hands of Amanda Nunes, and goes on a losing streak, basically. Then she goes to Bellator and wins two in a row. Now, Cyborg says, well, you leave USADA and suddenly get two wins. Well, she got two wins because she was literally handed the easiest fights possible. Okay, she came in, fought Gabby Holloway, who hadn't fought for 3 years before she fought Kat Zingano. Holloway fought Zingano fought Holloway in September of 2020. Holloway's last fight before that was in March of 2017. Then Zingano's second fight in Bellator was against Olivia Parker. Olivia Parker at that time was 4-1 as a pro, but had 0 wins over anybody with a winning record. Okay, the lone time she faced somebody with a winning record, she was 4-0 at the time. She faced Chelsea Chandler in Invicta, who was 2-1 at the time and lost. Then a year later, she takes on Kat Zingano and loses. Now, a year later, she just this year in March, she faced Michelle Montague, who was actually making her pro debut. Guess what? Parker lost. So yes, Zingano got wins because she faced literal bottom tier opponents. Zingano has been on a downside ever since the Nunes fight. Not just because of the freaking testing, which is a theory you can have, but more than likely it's the Nunes fight. Like, she got a life altering beating at the hands of Amanda Nunes. And then this is done by Cyborg too. She says, fighting on YouTube Friday night and thinks I care what she wants. You have been asking for this fight, okay? You've been asking for this fight, and now you just downgraded her fight by, and said, oh, she's fighting on YouTube. That does not look good for your next possible title challenger to be saying, "Oh, she's fighting on YouTube. Who cares?" Uh, that's the person you've been wanting to fight for a while now. Why are you trying to slam her for fighting on YouTube? Which I don't think she is fighting on YouTube. Pretty sure that's on the main card, if anything. Two being two this weekend. So it looks like it is on the prelim. So for whatever reason, that fight is on prelims, which is surprising. Okay, still, why would you slam your next opponent for fighting on the prelims? Because everybody knows they're trying to build her up for you to face. That just makes you look bad by fighting someone whose last fight was on the YouTube prelims. So that's just dumb on Cyborg too. But the biggest L here is the overreaction by Cyborg. Listen, someone says, I want elevated testing. The only way you should ever answer, the only way you should answer to an opponent saying, I want uh, independent elevated testing, the only way you should answer is saying, fine, I've got nothing to hide. That is the only answer you should ever give to that request. The only answer. Okay? Anything else, anything other than saying, fine, I've got nothing to hide, let's do it. Anything other than that just makes you look suspicious. For you to then project back onto your opponent makes you look even more suspicious. This was dumb on Cyborg's part. Or she'll probably say, I didn't say that. Somebody on my team tweeted it out. Well, guess what? Your team makes you look dumb on a regular basis. Because your team, you blaming that video on your team, literally got you cut from the UFC. They didn't even want to renegotiate with you. So maybe you choose a new team at the same time. Yeah, this is dumb on Cyborg's part. One, the fact that you are the only one here out of these two that is a proven cheat to get mad at wanting elevated testing makes you look bad. Two, trashing your possible next opponent for fighting on the YouTube prelims. Well, that isn't going to make you look good when you face them. Three, giving any other answer than fine, let's do it. I've got nothing to hide. I've been testing clean for years. Any answer other than that makes you look bad. This overreaction makes Cyborg look bad. Period. I mean, is there any argument for anything else? I mean, okay, you could maybe make the argument that Cyborg's right. ZingaNo hasn't looked good since random testing, but you could also make the argument that she hasn't looked good since facing Nunes, who literally beat the piss out of her. The only reason ZingaNo won that fight, she Homer Simpsoned her way to a win. She held on long enough for Nunes to gas out and then took her out then. It was like literally, she literally Homer Simpson herself to a win. It has looked like crap since then. And has gone on the record saying, yeah, that fight took a lot out of me. It took a long time to recover. She didn't fight for she didn't fight for almost a year afterwards. I don't know. Your